Good morning. Early day today. Got to make a trip to the doctor. Just a regular checkup. Getting some coffee going on. Gonna be a little bit rushed. Thought about something I might like to talk about. So, read a very quick article yesterday about how to solve the process, or rather the problem of student loans. Student loans are a bit of an issue right now for the whole country. There's a lot of debt that's not being paid back. And there are many ways that everybody's talking about fixing the student loan problem. What they're not talking about is fixing the problem. They're just adding to it. We are not able to afford any more student loans. And the problem isn't the loan themselves. The problem is it's not the people themselves. As is the case in many times, the problem is that government got involved and tried to micromanage the system. It's going to be a quick cup of coffee today. The government guarantees student loans. This drove many people to borrow money to go to school. Going to school is a great thing. Getting an education is an incredibly important thing. Unfortunately, when everybody qualifies, everybody goes. So everybody qualified to go to school. If you wanted to go to school, you got the money, you went to school. But the money's got to be paid back. With that much demand on the school system, capitalism demanded a higher price for the product, which is the education. The spectrum of quality increased. Unfortunately, the quality on the higher end of the spectrum, I don't think it changed much. But the quality on the lower end of the spectrum, to facilitate that many more students, that probably increased. So we have less quality in our education system. It's a simple law of supply and demand. This also drove prices through the roof for education. And all that money was guaranteed to be paid back by the federal government. And here's the caveat that most students don't know they do when they sign that contract, because the contracts are so complicated. Students are just out of high school. They're not understanding what they're reading. But the caveat is, you can't declare bankruptcy on a student loan. That was the deal that the politicians made. So there's no out. What there is a form of debtor's prison for people who got those student loans and now have to pay it back. The simple fix, and the thing that never happens, is for government to roll back its involvement in the program. for government to get its nose out of the finances of schooling. Whether you think schooling is important or not, whether you think the government should be involved in schooling or not, this program is a failure. And the problem is not loans, the problem is not school, it's not the education, the program is a failure. But true to form, the government is not willing to let go of that program. They want to stay with it. They want to continue to evolve a failing program into something that's a bigger failure, is the only way I see it going. The real solve, the first step in making this program go away, which is how it'll be fixed, is number one, stop the government guarantees, and number two, require, or rather remove the requirement for no bankruptcy being allowed on student loans. That is the release valve that keeps banks from making a bad decision. If you get a $200,000 loan and you declare bankruptcy, the next person that comes in to get that $200,000 loan, the bank's going to look at it and say, wait a minute, is this the cream of the crop? Is this the student who's going to pay us back with interest and make us that money? There's the hard fact right there. Banks make money, and without the risk involved in loaning money, then they're just going to keep loaning money to everybody, whether they're going to pay it back, whether they're a good student, whether they're a horrible student, whether they have any intention of ever paying it back. I was a horrible student. I hated it. I couldn't stand school. I didn't like the cliques. I didn't like the way the teachers taught. It was just not an enjoyable experience for me. So, when I got out of the public school system, I immediately joined the Navy. I did 4 years in the Navy, decided that wasn't for me, came out, and I went to college, to the orientation. And one of the first things they told me, this was in 1987, one of the first things they told me was, don't worry about the money. We'll get you taken care of. Well, that sounded great to me. I thought, well, if it's not a worry, then I shouldn't worry about it. I was saved because of a jackass of a professor who stood in front of the entire assembly and said to the assembly, I don't remember it verbatim, but I do remember him saying, you have friends who are going to get jobs. You have friends who are going to join the military. You're better than these people. That's why you're here. That didn't really sit well with me. Maybe it was true. I am a person that thinks that there are people in the world that I'm better than, and there are people in the world that are lots better than me. The doctors I'm going to see today, they're obviously much better at what they do than I am. It's just a fact. But I got up and left. I wasn't going to have a professor talk down to me after giving 4 years of my life to my country. I wasn't the only one. There were what I saw, there were 3 people that got up and left. There may have been more. There were many doors there at the auditorium. That was a long aside. Bring back bankruptcy. Get government out of the finances of the school system. Enough. The program's a failure. That's how you fix it. When something's broken beyond repair, it's a failure. This can't be fixed. We have to have that release valve. It's that simple. Well, that was kind of a strong rant this morning, and I hope everybody has a great day.